A corpse. Should be left well alone.
Hey guys, Thingfishy here. So the other day I discovered a mod that adds a working Rakuyo into Elden Ring, meaning that by combining it with a Lady Maria costume mod, we can finally play Elden Ring as Lady Maria. Before we get started, here's the moveset. Both light and heavy attacks give you super cool combos that have a trick weapon transition in the middle, so you switch between transformed and untransformed without having to do it manually. There's also a couple of Ashes of War, the Charge Slash, and the ridiculously cool Jump Attack. By using the Ash of War with the Rakuyo untransformed, we get a phase transition with a weapon buff and supercharged heavy attacks. So I was originally planning to do a standard run with this, but this mod makes you incredibly OP, as it should. And with all the relevant buffs and talismans, I would have just been deleting every boss in 10 seconds. So to avoid temptation and to give Elden Ring a fighting chance, I thought I'd fire up the randomizer again. The last time I did a randomizer run, I put far too many bosses in the overworld, and I had fun, so this time I added even more. Here's some nerdy stuff about the mod and setting it up if you want to try it. Alright, here we go again. So I started off by heading to Melina, as usual. Radagon had other ideas. Then I went south through Limgrave towards Weeping Peninsula. Had to check the randomizer was definitely on at this point because it all looked pretty normal. The reason I'm heading to Weeping is I didn't randomize Golden Seeds and Tears for this run, as I knew it would likely get a bit hairy. I also didn't randomize key items, so this didn't turn into a 10-hour run like the last one. Found a fire giant doing some gardening on my ride through. Then found 3 of them chilling at the beach. Then I decided to go check out the Mistwood, and it was a little scary. When you're doing a randomizer, it's always wise to check the inventory of all of the merchants for weapon upgrades. It's sometimes a little more dangerous than usual. With some goods collected, time to see who's in Margit's arena. It was Noble. Stormvale was pretty congested, but at least I didn't get hit by any arrows. Godric was Morgoth, and it was here I started to discover just how good the charged attacks of the Rakuyo were for speed and posture damage. Before Liurnia, I wanted to go to Castle Morn to see if the Misbegotten dropped anything important. The castle's guard was a little less scary than usual. The castle itself wasn't too bad at all, probably the safest place I'd been in this run so far. The only problem that I spotted was there was an Astal in the room right next to the Grace, and its attacks could hit me through the wall. What I didn't know at the time was that it would be the run to the boss that was the real problem. After many attempts, I found a gap and got a clear shot to the boss room. Please be Godric. Oh, hi, Horaloo. A long while later, I got there again, and I wasn't taking any chances this time, so I fully buffed up. Fighting Horaloo here, with Radahn's thunderous attacks ringing in my headphones, was genuinely anxiety-inducing. This fight was actually really useful for seeing what I could and couldn't get away with in small opportunities. Strangely, the fastest attack in this moveset is actually an uncharged R2. Time for the Liurnia. Quick trip to the Bellum Church for another tear or seed, then to Raya Lucaria. Getting in was interesting. In Wolf's Arena, I found Omen Moog. He was super tanky. And strangely, the bleed from the Rakuyo here wasn't quite as frequent as I was expecting. Happily, through Rare Lucaria, I'd found some Sombers, so I upgraded to +3. Now in the last randomizer, I had to fight Rykard in Renala's arena, so my only hope was that whatever was in here wouldn't be anything too big. Brilliant. Now initially, I didn't think this was too bad. My damage was relatively good, and his health bar was disappearing pretty quickly. But at half health, there was a problem. Yeah, there was no way to tell where the dive was coming from. And even when I did dodge it out of sheer luck, some sort of AoE was still tagging me. So rather than torture myself more, I headed to Caelid for Radahn. The Misbegotten and Crucible fight was broken, as at the start of this run I'd unlocked all of the graces to go to the round table to grab the Rakuyo. I'd recommend force warping there instead, if you want the Rakuyo for the Limgrave door. So what would be in Radahn's arena? Well, if you're a lore nerd, or you know a lot about Elden Ring's cut content, I think you'll enjoy this one. With 2 Great Runes in the bag, it was time to head to Leyndell. The Dectus medallions were in their normal locations, but where's the fun in that? So I headed to the ruin-strewn precipice. Happily, it doesn't look like there's anything too big in here. Now here I had a similar problem to the Plassey fight. In a randomizer, or at least in this room, the usually reliable method of dodging the meteor attack doesn't work. The attack can come from any direction. So this was killing me on almost every attempt. Finally though, by letting the pillar tank a bit of it, I managed to survive by the skin of my teeth. Now for Altus, and I headed straight for Leyndell. Just like the last randomizer, I had an avatar in place of the Draconic. The capital looked very normal. On my way up to Godfrey, my only hope was that there wouldn't be anything too big in his room. So I will admit, this was a low point. The next 45 minutes of my life was some of the most hectic and frustrating moments I've had in this game. Fighting Fortisax in this arena was really rough. It was so hard to see what was going on. And on a lot of my attempts, he'd fly off and get stuck in the wall for 5 minutes. Eventually, after losing my patience, I spammed the quick charge attack from the Rakuyo, which was strong enough to result in something I've never done before in Elden Ring: staggering Fortisax. Due to his posture negation, this is something you only tend to see on very low damage challenge runs. Morgott was Rykard, and while the randomizer gives you Serpent Hunter on encountering him, using Serpent Hunter didn't seem like something Lady Maria would do. before the mountaintops, I headed to Volcano Manor to see what was going on there. Noble was Renala, and yeah, it didn't really go too well for her and the Sweetings. In Rykard's arena, I got a pleasant surprise. While I don't think anyone's ever happy to see the duo, I was happy to see them in Rykard's arena rather than Elden Beasts. I still have nightmares about Elden Godskin duo from the last randomizer. As I'd found enough for a +7 upgrade in Volcano Manor, this fight was very satisfying. The mountaintops was relatively okay. The enemy density up here is low enough to save you from anything too crazy. Fire Giant's fight felt like a cruel joke from the randomizer, as it plonked 2 bosses that I still have no idea how to fight in the same arena. But as Lady Maria, it was actually pretty fun. Farum was also relatively uneventful. In Godskin Duo's arena, again, there was Loretta. And this was a joke with this moveset. For Beast and Malekith, I got Phase 1 Fire Giant. And a weapon that has bleed and does ludicrous stagger damage is an absolute dream for Fire Giant, so this was fine. Malekith was Godfrey, and the uncharged R2 attack here just shredded his health bar. Now time for my favourite part of any randomizer, travelling up to this boss room safe in the knowledge that the worst boss ever made won't be here. And as I'd had the worst luck possible with Fortis Axe earlier, and having beaten most of the bigger bosses already, I was also confident that it wouldn't be some massive boss with attacks that were impossible to dodge. Why do I play this fucking game? I don't actually know if it's possible to dodge the fast fireballs without Torrent, but luckily I found that hiding behind this pillar did the trick, and mercifully, I was positioned very well for the breath attack. Godfrey Horaloo was a little disappointing. To deal with Fire Giant in the last arena, I'd used the Sombers I found in Farum to level up to +9, and this was probably a little much for the bosses who'd taken up residence here. In this run, I'd repeatedly upgraded to get past the more brutal encounters, only to find myself a little too OP for the following ones. In a standard run, I think you could probably stop upgrading much earlier if you still wanted a challenge. But little did I know, I would need every single bit of that damage for what was to come. So next up, Castle Sol, and hopefully getting to Gnarl wouldn't be too bad. Alright, that's not going to happen. In Gnarl's arena was the Misbegotten, and he got absolutely bullied. Now it's time for the highest scaled area in the game, where every enemy would have loads of health and hit like a train. And as soon as I loaded in, I spotted a problem. Yeah, Rykard was blocking the way, and I couldn't attack him without getting ganked by the nearby enemies. So kill all the enemies in the arena, then kill Rykard. After many attempts, I got past, and I have never concentrated so hard on not falling off these branches before. Just gotta get to the Grace. And there's another Rykard. After many more attempts, I got past and to the Grace. Now to run through the rest of the... you've got to be shitting me. The third Rykard puzzle was even more fun. And by fun, I mean why do I do this to myself, someone please help me. As there was an outrageously hard-hitting Misbegotten, a crystal-slinging Miner, Crucible Knight Ordovis, and a big flower, all between me and him. After some strategizing, I lured the Crucible into the Grace Room and killed him. Then the Miner, walked very slowly past Ordovis so he didn't spot me, then the flower and the extra enemies around him. Then I could deal with Rykard. Nearly 90 minutes after entering the Halig Tree, I did it. The coast was now clear. Oh, for fuck's sake. If you're watching this on YouTube and this bit is in the last minute of the video, it's because there's another fucking Rykard in Loretta's arena. Happily, there wasn't another Rykard in Loretta's arena. It was the Gargoyles. And a single graze from either of them took over half of my health. After a couple of attempts, I thought I was going to be here for a while. But then something amazing happened. And I wasn't going to let that opportunity go to waste. As a parting gift, the Halig Tree gave me one last cruel joke, putting Morgott and Radagon in a rot swamp that decreases my movement speed. Honestly, if I didn't have the Rakuyo moveset, I think this would have been the end of the run. Happily though, after many more attempts, I used the charged R2 to zip through the rot to safety. Honestly, the Halig Tree probably took me longer to get through than several of the other areas combined. In Melania's arena, there was Margit, who, while hitting harder than ever before, wasn't really a problem. Now, there was one boss that I wanted to find on this run, as I missed out on it in the last randomizer run. So before I headed into the final boss, I wanted to try and find some others. In the lair of Big Moose in Nokron, I found Elden Beast. Wasn't really a problem at this level, but using this moveset for him created some incredibly cool footage. And in the arena of the Gargoyles was Malekith. I'd gone looking for him specifically as I'd got Blasphemous Claw, and I knew exactly what I wanted to try with it. On my search for other bosses, I found the Mimic in Plassey's arena, who didn't really understand how to use the Rakuyo, Dragonkin and Nile in place of the Champs and Fortisax, and the most tanky magma worm ever to exist in Moog's arena. I know you're probably wondering what the road up to the arena in Mogwin's Palace was like, and the answer is not quite as bad as last time. Although there was one problem with it, and you've been watching this video, you know what it was. So the final battle then, it was Loretta. And as I'd learned earlier, the transformation moveset of the Rakuyo is just too good for this fight. And for the last boss, we had Elden Beast. Oh, see what you did there? With the speed and range of my charged attacks, he didn't stand a chance. And that's how to beat Elden Ring as Lady Maria. Thanks for watching. So another year of content creation. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's watched my silly videos this year, and for all of the support and encouragement. I'm sorry my upload schedule has been rocky as of late. I've had some shit going on IRL. I'm so excited for next year though, as everything cool that I've done on this channel so far has all been made possible by this incredible game. And one way or another, it seems next year we'll be jumping back in for more. I'll be back in the new year with more build guides, modded playthroughs and From Software shenanigans. Until then though, as always, thanks for watching. Merry Christmas. See you next year.